Hello, Ed. Thank you very much for making the time to talking with us. You have been not only a teacher and mentor to me, but also a leading figure and co-shaper of the field of organizational culture, organizational learning, and organizational leadership over the past 50 plus years. So before I ask you a few questions around, so many of us, we are a community here coming together from many different countries and many different systems and sectors, but all of us deal with the topic of change. Your professional main focus has been, co-shaping this field over the past 50 plus years. So before asking you how you see this field and how, kind of following your own biography, this field has been developing the second half of the 20th century and the beginning of this century, I would like to invite you to share a little bit with us about your own journey, kind of what brought you into this whole line of work that you have been focusing the main part of your professional journey, and a little bit kind of where your folks came from, where you were born, and what your journey was when you came to the United States.
Good. That's a good place to start, because I may have contributed to the theory of change, but my early life was being a victim of change. I was born in Zurich, Switzerland, and my father was a Czech who was a young professor of physics there, because he had been born in Hungary, or at that time it's today Slovakia, at that time it was Hungary, and his parents sent him to Zurich to study physics so that he could avoid the World War I draft, because he was still at that age. And so war background is always in the picture. In Zurich, he met my mother, and it's important that he was Jewish, but rejected Judaism as being mostly a problem. You know, you're always going to be a victim of anti-Semitism. So he turned toward a young, blonde, Aryan woman and fell in love with her. My mother came from Saxony, and she was a pretty blonde engineering student of all things. I fell in love and stayed there until I was age 6. And at that point, the Czechs and the Swiss had a fight. And the Swiss said, we will not give any more jobs to Czech citizens. So suddenly my father had to leave. And at that point, where does a cosmic ray physicist go? His choices were China or Russia, or Soviet Union, I should say. At that time it was the Soviet Union, because both of those countries were very busy building their physics establishment. They were at that point building science. So they were offering wonderful big jobs to young physics professors. So off we went in 1934 to Odessa. I was 6, and in the Soviet Union, we were treated royally. We had special stores, a nice apartment. I was homeschooled, and many interesting trips to the Crimea and to Georgia and the Caucasus. From my point of view, it was pretty good living. However, from my parents' point of view, Stalin was beginning to have his purges, and foreigners were beginning to be involved. So my father realized he had to leave. So in 1937, he went to the University of Prague for a year. We had to leave most of our stuff behind, which was for me at age 9 pretty traumatic, because I had these beautiful German toys that I had brought with me. So a year in Prague at a horrible, very formal school, while he was establishing, my father was establishing himself at the University of Chicago, where a brilliant physicist had started a program with Ford Foundation money to bring Middle European scientists to the university. So my father was locating there, and in 1938 brought my mother and me over. So I then started my life in the US in Chicago.